Hi, my name is Amanda, and today we will be going over APX within your OfficeTools program. Initially, we will be looking at the settings, which can be found behind the Setup menu under My Company, Information and Settings. From here, you will see an APX button down toward the bottom. You are going to click on that icon, and you'll be presented with your APX settings. Initially, what we see is APX is enabled. We also have an option for your portal to have APX functionality enabled. If you do not use the customer portal, please disregard this section. If you do have any questions or use the portal and have additional questions of how APX can integrate, feel free to schedule an APX training session and we can go over that a bit further with you. The next space that we're looking at is regarding Pay Now. Pay Now is one of the 3 ways of using APX. It is going to be sending a emailed invoice to your client with a secure payment link, allowing them to pay online anywhere that they have internet access. The multi-factor authentication is disabled by default. Should you wish to enable that and apply different settings, you'll click your MFA setup icon. Now what this is going to do is ask for an additional form of identification that will present itself to your client before they are able to pay their bill. So if you'd like them to provide their date of birth, simply click on DOB, click Add, and you'll see that appear on the chosen MFA fields. Now this is completely optional. This is not something that you do have to turn on or require for your clients. As you can see by my clicking my MFA setup, that did change this to an enabled status, and I have the ability to check this box here if I do wish to make this a required piece of information before my client is allowed to pay their bill. The next area in this box is referring to how long will your URL accept a payment before it expires. Now what this means is the link that is provided to your client upon them receiving their Pay Now email, this URL will take them to an online payment screen where they will be able to pay with card or ACH. By default, we give them a full 90 days. If you would like to shorten that time or change it to something specific, simply enter that number into this box. If you wish to have it expire after 30 days, you would simply place 30. And the final area within our APX settings window is referring to your APX email notifications. When I click the email notifications icon, I am presented with a list of different types of alerts. They are categorized in blue. To the right, you will see they are all on by default. If you would like to turn any of them off, simply click on the white bubble and that will slide over, and now we see the status change to off. For any email notifications that you do leave on and active, you will want to adjust the Manage List icon to the far left. What this is referring to is who will receive this particular email alert now that we have turned this on. You'll place all staff emails into this box, separating them with commas, and clicking Save when you are finished. As you can see, there are various different types of alerts, so do spend some time in here going over the different types of alerts that would be most beneficial for your firm and how you plan to utilize APX. Other than that, once you have configured everything to your liking, you will click OK. And from our company information and settings, we will also click OK. Now we will move on into how we go about setting up our various files and using APX for those files. I already have my test matter pulled up here, and I'm going to be heading to the billing tab. Within the billing tab, we have our sub areas to the right for payments and invoices. And we're going to start on payments first. Now what you are seeing here is we have some new icons. We have our APX and our recurring icon. We're going to start with our APX. When we click the APX button, you're presented with a menu, and the very first option here is Manage Cards. So as mentioned, there are 3 different ways of using APX, one of which was Pay Now, which we will dig into a bit deeper. But initially, you also have the ability to store and save credit card, debit card, or ACH information on file for your customers. What this will do for you is allow for you to either set up a reoccurring payment cadence where we can put them on a monthly plan, for example, and charge them on a monthly frequency until an end date of our choosing. The other way of using APX that would require us to store payment information on record is to save this for running payments manually. When we are processing a manual payment, we can refer back to the card or payment method stored on file and use that to collect. So this is where we would go about adding those payment details. As you can see, I currently have one in place for my file, but if I need to add something new, I can click Add Card to the bottom left. And now I am presented with a screen to fill in their information. As you can see, it did pull some pieces of information off of their file for me, but now I can fill in the remaining information that is now provided from my client. If I have a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover, or any corporate cards, I will fill that information into this top space. If I was given an e-check or ACH payment method to store, I would click the bubble here at the bottom, and now my fields will change. We'll be collecting banking information as opposed to card information, and clicking our blue save icon at the bottom when we are finished. It is important to note that everything that you enter here, we want to check for accuracy before hitting save. If at any point you discover that there was a typo of some kind, we will need to completely remove that payment method and re-add it from the beginning. The email field is also important because this is where all customer receipts will be sent to by default. This is also a field that would need to be updated by completely deleting the payment method and re-adding should we have entered an incorrect email address in this space. So do check for accuracy to prevent yourselves from having to come back and re-enter information. Otherwise, when we click that blue save at the bottom, this window will close and you will see that new payment method. If for whatever reason you do need to remove a payment method, perhaps that should have been 4749 and we have 4747, we would click on that line item here to highlight it and then click my delete. And that will ask for confirmation and it will then remove that card so that you may re-add the proper payment method details. We're going to go back to our APX icon here at the top. The next thing we're looking at is retainer payments. You have the ability to create a retainer request. This will also be sent to the client in the same fashion that your Pay Now requests are sent to. It goes to them via email. When I click that Create Retainer Request, it updates to show me the information, the client email address that will receive this message, where I will then enter the dollar amount and any additional descriptive information. When I click Send Request, that will send that email to Mr. Andrew here and request that retainer payment. Heading back to that same space on the APX icon under Retainer Payments, you also have Manage Requests. Now what this is going to do is show you any requests that have been sent. You have the ability to get a little bit more information regarding that as well as the status. The status icon here, when we see an hourglass, that is letting you know that we still have time left on that URL before it does expire. Same concept applies for Pay Now, which we will address in a moment. When a URL has expired, you will see a red circle with a red exclamation point in the middle, and that is your indication that that URL is no longer valid. And you can renew if you need to, simply by clicking on the line item that does need that renewal and click the renew right down here at the bottom. If you need to resend, you can see that lit up for me as well, just by my clicking the box to select that particular line. You can also cancel and update the status. Update status would be if we have received notification that this $200 retainer request has been paid, but for some reason it is not showing and reflecting a paid status within my program. If I click the update status, that is essentially a refresh, which will then update the status as a paid retainer request. From the APX button, you also have APX status, user guide, and settings, so feel free to check these particular lines out as you see fit. The next thing we're going to address is how to run a manual payment within the program now that we have gone about saving the payment method on file. So from this window, we'll head to the plus sign here to the far left and click Create New Payment. From here, you will enter the dollar amount that we are collecting today. You'll enter your payment method. And if I had a payment method on file, which we did see for this particular client, you will see that information populated down here in the bottom left. That is your way of knowing that by my clicking Process APX, that is going to use this card as well as the APX service to collect the dollar amount I have indicated up above. If there is no payment details here and you've already reached this screen, you can click Manage from this window as well, where you'll be presented with the ability to enter a payment method. Otherwise, clicking Process will then collect the dollar amount and running the Visa listed below. The next area we're going to look at is for reoccurring payments. So after storing the payment method on file, you can click the reoccurring icon here at the top. We're then going to select Create Reoccurring Payment. It'll confirm the contact. We'll just say Next. And from here, you're going to see the settings screen for how we are going to set up and configure this schedule. The deposit account is showing in the top right. Into our operating, the payment method being used would be displayed here in this dropdown. Recurring type, as you can see, we have multiple options here. We have a single, weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, and quarterly. Typically, this is a monthly frequency. And the recurring amount and total amount is going to be dependent upon how you wish to use the recurring schedule. The recurring amount is when we are anticipating costs. The client does not yet have a large balance, but we are anticipating costs, so we will be collecting $500 for the next 6 months, starting on the first of the next month. So I'll jump to the second line here, click my start date. We'll say June 1. The occurrences or end date is completely up to you on how you wish to configure. If you know that this will be a 6-month plan that we are going to be charging $500, you can simply place a 6 in this box and the system will do the math for you. If not, you can always enter a hard stop end date just by filling that bubble, clicking our calendar icon here, and selecting a date of our choosing. Either way, the rest of the remaining boxes that were not selected will be populated for you based off of the details provided. Now, maybe we're not anticipating costs in this instance. Maybe the client has a very large bill that they cannot pay all at once, and we are giving them the ability to work with us and pay us on a monthly frequency. You'll enter that dollar amount of the bill in this field here in our total amount box. Still indicate that start date, but also let the system know how many occurrences or end by what date. And the system will do the math and configure the remaining fields for you. The description box can also be updated if need be. You'll simply place your cursor there and update with the data that you wish to place. The notifications box here at the bottom is where you'll be entering in your email or any other firm user's email who need to be made aware of the happenings regarding this plan. This is not where you will place the client email. They are already receiving receipts and details regarding this plan by the email that was addressed when you were entering in their payment method. So whatever email address you entered into that field will receive the receipts. Whatever email addresses we enter into this field here at the bottom, firm users and other current staff members will receive information regarding this plan. When you are finished, you will hit Create Schedule down here at the bottom right, and this window will close out for you. You're then presented with a window showing us our payment history screen. So these are all of our recurring payments. You can see we have a white background for those that have a status of active. We have a green background for those with a status of complete, and a red background for those with a status of canceled. If at any time you need to see more information regarding one of these plans, whether it be completed, canceled, or currently running, simply click on that line and an index card will appear here to the right for you. You'll see the start date, the next payment date, if applicable, the last payment date, as well as the status. You'll see the reoccurrence progress, the payment method that was used during this plan, as well as the dollar amount details of this plan. Should you wish for this index card here to be collapsed, simply click back on that line item and it will go away. If at any time you need to cancel a plan, perhaps this particular client here can no longer afford the payment plan, hardship, or whatever reason, but we are going to work with them in a different way. If that does take place, simply click on that line and the cancel icon here will light up for you. That will then confirm your action. As you can see, it does want to know if I would like to permanently delete this payment cadence, and I can confirm or close to cancel that request. The next thing we're going to get into is our Pay Now feature. For that, we're going to switch to the Invoices side. From the Invoices tab, we have an APX icon. This icon is going to allow you to create your Pay Now requests, but before doing that, you will need to select the invoice below. The invoice status must be final and there must be a dollar amount due. I'll go ahead and use this line here as an example. And what you're going to do after selecting the invoice line, you'll click the APX button here at the top. From there, you'll click Create Pay Now Request. And it will ask us, do we wish to edit the email before sending? In this case, I'm going to say no, and it is going to send that email off to my client. Now I'll go ahead and I'll show you some screenshots of what that would look like. So initially when the customer receives their Pay Now request, this is what their email will look like. They will have a copy of the PDF attached. This is their full invoice for their records. It will be your firm information here at the top addressed to the client, letting them know the invoice number and the dollar amount due today. They will click their blue Pay Now icon here, and that will route them to their web browser. From here, they will see again your firm information, invoice summary to the far left, letting them know the number, the date issued, and the dollar amount due. The payment method field, if they have a payment method currently stored on file within your program, they will see that here is an option to pay their bill with. If they do not have a payment method stored, or they do not wish to use the payment method listed, they can click the plus sign icon here to the right, and that will present them with the screen to begin filling in payment method details. It looks very much like the screen within your program. As you can see, it will default to a card, listing the card types that are accepted, and requesting a full billing address along with that payment information. It does let them know that the email address listed here will receive payment details, and they have the ability to check this box here at the bottom to save this card information for future payments. Now what that means is it will not save that information into your OfficeTools program. What this is going to do is save their information for the next time they receive a Pay Now request. The next time they receive that link, it will show whatever card information they have listed above as an option to pay their bill with. They can also pay their Pay Now request with e-check or ACH. They would simply click this bubble here and it would present them with banking information. Upon filling in their payment information, they would click their Pay Now, which we see here. So they would click this blue icon. As you can see, there is no ability to modify the dollar amount they are paying, so it does default to full payment. Upon clicking the blue Pay Now icon, they will be presented on screen whether or not that payment was successful. So from here, they would see a green bar along the top letting us know payment successful. It also lets them know that a receipt has been sent to their email address, but they also have a receipt presented to them on screen, which they can download by clicking the download button here at the bottom center. The email they will receive looks like so. Your firm information here at the top, addressed to your client, letting them know the dollar amount paid, the payment date, as well as the payment method. In-house, you will also receive an email letting you know who your payment was from and the details of that payment method. So when I receive this email, you should then see within your program that this particular invoice has now been marked as a paid invoice. As mentioned when we were looking at the retainer requests, we saw our icons for hourglass letting us know that this was still a valid Pay Now URL that has not yet been paid. And here we can see an example of what it looks like to see an expired URL. We have a red circle with a red exclamation point in the center. If I click on this, if I need to renew or refresh the 90-day window, or however many days that you have decided for your URLs to remain active, you can click on that invoice, come here to our APX icon at the top, and from here I have the ability to renew a Pay Now, meaning I will refresh and give it an additional 90 days, cancel, which will cancel that Pay Now request altogether, delete Pay Now, which we are typically not doing unless we sent this an error and we did not intend to. Otherwise, you are not typically going to delete Pay Now requests, so that way you can keep the history of that. And here we see the update pay now status. So should I have received my payment email letting me know that this particular invoice has in fact been paid, but my system is not reflecting that, I can click the update pay now status, and that will refresh for me and indicate that this invoice has in fact been paid. Otherwise, our final option from here is manage requests. And what that is referring to is managing our pay now requests. So from here, we can see those requests that are currently out, the days left, the status, as well as the email sent date. You also have reports within your system that refer to APX. So for that, I'm coming to the reports menu at the top and going to my billing reports. From here, you will see along the left, we have APX chargeback, APX credit card / ACH transactions, and APX disbursement. The APX chargeback is just that. It is letting you know of any disputed charges that your client did not recognize on their credit card or bank slips, and they have called their financial institution and disputed that particular transaction. The credit card and ACH transaction report will give you a list of all transactions that APX has begun as well as completed. This will be a list of all transactions within the time frame of your choosing. You will see dollar amount details, the date, as well as the payment method. The next report we have is the APX disbursement report. Now this report is going to list out the transactions within the date frame listed up above, but the difference between the disbursement and the transaction report is the disbursement will only show you transactions that have been deposited into your bank account. The next thing we are going to look at is our APX portal. This portal is a dashboard for you and staff to look at various metrics related to APX transactions. This username was set up during your APX application process. If for whatever reason you need to refresh this information, simply click Forgot Password, enter the email that you placed on your APX application, and a code will be sent to that email to allow you to set your username and password combination to log in. Otherwise, upon logging in, what you are going to see, we have a dashboard presented to us. While these are loading, we will adjust the quick charge. So quick charge is an area that will be removed. This is not a space that connects back into your program, therefore it does not connect into your bank account. So this area will be removed. Today's sales is referring to how you are doing for today's date. You'll see a line graph letting you know how we are doing within also the time frame listed below. The sales space here also will function as a line graph letting you know how we are doing for the date range listed along the bottom. This date range can be adjusted using our purple preset dropdown or by clicking the calendar icon here and selecting a date of our choosing. To the right of that, you're going to see your funds snapshot. By default, it will default to today's date. You can click on the calendar icon here and select a date of your choosing should you wish to change that. As you can see, it is already referring to calendar year, but if I wish to look at a rolling, I can simply click that white bubble, slides over and turns purple, and now my data has changed. Now what you're looking at is either going to reflect rolling 12 months or year to date, rolling 30 days or month to date, and the current date that you had selected up above. And in the very top right, our account balance box. This dollar amount that is reflected here is the total dollar amount of pending deposits that we have sent to your bank that they are currently working on making available to you. As those funds are dispersed into your bank account, that dollar amount will reduce. Moving on to the right, we're going to touch on just a few of these choices. Under our payments menu, we are going to payment history. What you are presented with here is a list of all transactions along with the status of that transaction. The status column here is going to let you know where we are at within the life cycle of that transaction itself. You're going to see a few different colors. Initially, when we run a payment method and we are approved for that transaction, you will see a blue bubble with a check in the middle, and when you hover, it will say approved. The next phase that the transaction will head into, when a deposit has been sent to your bank for processing, the status bubble will turn green and it will say captured. That means those funds have been captured and collected, but they have not yet made their way into your bank account. When the funds are dispersed to you and available, that icon will remain green, but when I hover, it will say settled. And that means the dollar amount listed here has been distributed into your bank account and is available to you. You are also notified when a transaction fails, and that status icon looks just like this. We have a sheer white bubble with a gray X in the middle, and when I hover, it says failed. So as you can see, any item within these line items here is clickable. So if I want to know more of my failed transaction, I can simply click right on that X, and I'm presented with a window here letting me know right at the very top, failed, insufficient funds. So I can let this client know that this was the status message that was returned when we tried to run their card ending in 1869. You can also scroll down to the transaction details below, click on the Alerts tab, and you are presented with the same message, letting you know the decline along with the date and timestamp of when we received insufficient funds notification. The next thing we are heading to is disputes. Now, disputes is going to be the same data that would be returned on your chargeback report that we saw within the program. The disputes are going to be charges that were not recognized by your client, in which case they contacted their financial institution and disputed that particular charge. You'll be able to filter through your results as well as download the results if need be. Next space is payment returns. Now, payment returns is not a space that you should see much activity under. What a payment return is, it is a deposit that we have sent to your bank that they have since declined. So in the instance of that happening, it could typically be related to your bank information changing from what we currently have on record for you. If the account number has changed or the banking institution altogether has changed and we have not yet been notified, simply give us a call and we will be able to update the banking or account information so that way we may redistribute this deposit to the appropriate place. The next area is under management. We're going to users. From here, you'll be able to add additional users to have access to the dashboard. You're typically not granting multiple users access to this space as it really is just a dashboard and metrics for you, but should you need to add anybody else from the users area, you're going to click add user here to the top right. And as you can see, when I click my role drop down, there are only two. Essentially, these are security profiles that are available to me. I have full access or view only. Now, full access is going to give you the ability to move just as freely as I am, clicking on various items and adding additional users, whereas view only does not have the ability to add users. It only has the ability to view the data that is presented. So if we are granting access, typically we are giving full access. Username and password, you are also assigning from this space as well, so you'll fill in that information along with their full name and email. And upon clicking add user here at the bottom, they will receive an invitation to log into the portal for the very first time. And you would see their name listed here down toward the bottom. The next space we're heading to is under our admin menu under withdrawals. We see the account balance listed, so this is going to be indicative again of the current count for the deposits that we have sent to your bank that they have not yet made available to you. As those dollar amounts are distributed into your bank account, the dollar amount listed here will reduce. The withdrawal schedule is referring to the frequency in which case we are removing fees for your using of APX. Now those fees are transactional, so as transactions happen, those fees are being removed from the operating account. So we have it listed as a daily frequency. And the final space in here is our withdrawal history. So I'm going to see all and expand. Now this is a space that you would like to use to reconcile against your bank deposit slips. What you're going to see, we'll use these two lines here as an example. You're going to see that within just a couple of minutes of each other, you're going to have a positive dollar amount deposited and a negative dollar amount withdrawn. And what that is the dollar amount in which we have collected from your clients on your behalf using APX. And the negative is the transactional fees that we are now charging you for those dollar amounts that we have collected on your behalf. So again, they should stack up right on top of each other. As you can see, it is just a couple of minutes apart, but that is how you will read these dollar amounts. And that is all that there is to it regarding APX within your OfficeTools program. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to book an OfficeTools APX training. and we'll be glad to help you. Thank you.